I think I'm recording. So I have had a lot of computer problems, so I'm just going to keep this image up because I can't use my regular computer. But welcome to the Holistic Transformation Podcast. I'm Dr. Beverly. I'm your cosmic cartographer and founder of the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy and the Dancing Bear Healing Center. So today we're going to be exploring the mystery of Aether. In America, a lot of people say ether, but it's actually spelled A-E-T-H-E-R. It is the sacred fifth element. I know some of you think there's only four, but we're going to correct that. And we're going to talk about why its reawakening is key to anchoring the 5D human template. So I've been talking about the new human for some time and the transformation that everyone is going through. And part of it is because Aether was lost and it's now coming back. So we're going to explore Aether this week. Next week, I'm going to talk about how we ended up in 2D instead of 3D, and why until you get into 3D, you can't go to 5D. And 5D is what the goal we want to achieve. That's the ascension that we want to achieve. So in ancient traditions, Aether was the spiritual essence, the divine field connecting all life. It is consciousness and form. So when you want to manifest something, it comes from Aether through frequency changes. So the Greeks knew this, but it got hidden, and we'll talk about that. So the Vedas revered it. So in India, the Vedas are the ancient texts that they have there. And it's revered in the Vedas. But somewhere along the way, Aether was stripped from our collective awareness. I've actually had people stop talking to me because they said there's only 4 elements, that's it. And then they were so upset that I said, no, there's 5, and they couldn't deal with it. Sorry, my hair keeps, just put it behind my ear. And they don't want to talk to me anymore. So wake up, there are 5 elements. So Aether is returning. It's coming into our consciousness, whether you want to believe it or not. And I'm going to tell you why you want to. So as light codes stream in through the galactic core, and I've been talking about these light codes for several weeks, and a lot of other people have as well. And the Earth's frequency rises as more of us feel the pull to remember. I remember my past lives. Some of you may also remember your past lives, or at least some of them. All of us are going to start remembering all of our past lives because it's part of who we are and our journey. So the forgotten element is rising within us, not just as energy, but as embodiment. We will embody this. That's how you become a light body, is you no longer need this, what David Icke calls meat suit, right? We're going to become more transparent. We're going to become light. So we're going to talk about what Aether truly is beyond air or space, which is how the Vedas describe it as space or air, why it was removed from modern science, and how it has severed us from wholeness. We're going to talk about the role of Aether in sacred geometry and crystalline consciousness. We're going to talk about the connection between Aether and the dodecahedron. In case you don't know, this is a dodecahedron. It's got pentagrams, 10 of them. And if you look on my image there, you can see the different Platonic solids as well as the star tetrahedron, and how you can attune to the Aether element through breath, stillness, and intention. So I'm going to give you some clues on what you can do to bring in more understanding and more Aether into your being. So we'll also touch on the spiritual implications of how reuniting with Aether helps you become the new human. And I talked about the new human several weeks ago. You become radiant, you become intuitive, you become in harmony with the pulse of the cosmos. Your special spiritual gifts will awaken. Let's just take a quick pause and have just a really quick meditation. So let's just take a moment and breathe into the space. Inhale and exhale. And now breathe between the element. Inhale air. Exhale air. Inhale fire. Exhale fire. Inhale water. Exhale water. Inhale earth. Exhale earth. Inhale ether. And exhale ether. Ether is the source. It connects you. You are made of ether. Your light body is ether in motion, and your soul remembers. Keep in mind, all of the elements are just a frequency. They don't actually exist on the physical plane. Our senses tell us it exists. So why was Aether forgotten? It's also known as the quintessence in ancient Greek philosophy. It was once considered the fifth element, along with earth, water, air, and fire. But the Greeks, according to the Rosicrucians, the Greeks felt humanity was not ready for this. So it went into the mystery schools. And it's also your DNA, and it's also nuclear. Okay, nuclear weapons are based on the dodecahedron. It is a weapon, the dodecahedron. And when you hold it like this and you use it as you use your hands to send out healing energy to someone, and if you use a dodecahedron in front, it amps up the energy. That's what a dodecahedron does. So it symbolizes spirit, life force, divine breath, the very substance that fills the cosmos and binds the physical in the spiritual world. But during the rise of mechanistic science and reductionist thinking in the 17th century, excuse me, Aether was dismissed as unprovable and stripped from public consciousness. So when I was in college at the University of Hawaii a long time ago, I think it was like 1965, 1966, somewhere in there, I took like a 6-unit class, the history of science. So I think it was like a 4-unit lecture that was in theater. There was so many people in it. And there was a 2-credit lab with a master's student teaches the lab. And they said, there's no such thing as Aether. People used to believe in it. It doesn't exist. And they also used to ask how many angels dance on the head of a pin. Well, when you start putting things like that, why would you ask how many angels dance on the head of a pin? That's ridiculous. So obviously, angels are not in this density, so unlimited. And that put Aether in that same, we don't believe in this. But it stuck with me. I never forgot that. Now, what is Aether? I'd never heard of it. I mean, I went through school, I took all the sciences, and I'd never heard of it. I only knew of four elements. And when I taught meditation originally in the early 1990s, my book that I wrote back then only had 4 elements. Then around, I think it was around 2015, science said, guess what? There really is Aether. They proved it. I think some people call it the God particle, something like that. And so in 2019, I rewrote my book after doing some research and studying with some people about what they said Aether was spiritually. I rewrote my book with 5 elements. So it's Meditation Demystified, written by Dancing Bear. It's out on Amazon. And it's part of the text that I use for my Om for Success class that's free. Oh, you probably can't see me. I have something else up so you can't see what I'm pointing at. Okay, never mind. So this removed a key piece of humanity's understanding of energy, of vibration, and of multidimensionality, because nothing makes sense without aether. How can you know who's calling? How can you have a thought and someone else knows you are thinking about them? I can tell you all kinds of stories about things that have happened to me where I thought of someone and then I immediately heard from them. How does that happen unless there's some kind of substance that things travel through? Another example is sound. If you take physics, okay, it's okay if you didn't take it. They tell you that sound causes the air molecules to vibrate, and that's how we hear them. And so if you're in space in a vacuum, there's no sound. I call BS on that. We hear sound from distant planets. Every planet has its sound, including the Earth, including the sun, including the moon. They all have a frequency that they emit, and we hear it, we measure it. And we're now hearing sounds coming from space. Well, if there's no sound in space, there's aether. And sound, if you have a piano, there's 88 keys, something like that. So if you go from middle C and you add 80 octaves, 80, that's the frequency of light. It's just a higher frequency. It's just we have eyes that only see certain frequencies. We have ears that only hear certain frequencies. There's other animals that they can see UV, ultraviolet, snakes and dolphins and whales. They have senses we don't have. So they hear frequencies and sense frequencies that we don't. The snakes feel heat. They can feel you standing there. That's what their little tongue does. They stick out their tongue and they can feel you. So none of this is real, okay? We've been lied to. I'm sorry, my hair is, in the summertime, I have to have the overhead fan on and it's blowing hair in my face. Sorry. Okay, so let's reflect for a moment on a little quote I found. Aether is the whisper of the divine between the spaces of matter. The whisper of the divine between the spaces of matter. It is, some people say it is the divine, it is source. It was everything in this aether egg. We're in an egg, okay? Everything in this egg was created by source. Whatever divine, whatever you call it in your belief system. So the Greeks associated aether with the dodecahedron, which is, I showed that to you. It's the 12-faceted Platonic solid. There's a picture of it down below. Believed that it is the shape of the universe itself. It actually, when it does an inversion, eversion, so this is an icosahedron, so there's a picture on your screen. So the icosahedron and the dodecahedron invert, evert, they go back and forth. And when they do that, it creates a sphere. So everything seems like a sphere, but energy pushes and pulls, so it's not round, it's kind of more egg-shaped. And this shape was kept secret. It was used only by the initiated. You weren't allowed to know that unless you went to a mystery school, which I did go to, several. And later it was removed from most mainstream teachings. And I have been studying science since elementary school. I never learned anything about this. I've learned math since early. I even had anatomy and physiology, all kinds of math, physics, biology, chemistry, everything in high school. I had it in college and I've had it in graduate school. They don't teach this, okay? But it's now being found. It's now available. And the kind of physicists that I like to listen to talk about it. And there's now some other books you can buy that talk about it. So aether in ancient and esoteric traditions cross many ancient cultures. So the Akasha is in Vedic traditions. It is seen as the source of all things. Even Vedic medicine, astrology, Ayurvedic medicine still has all 5 elements, all 5. Traditional Chinese medicine has qi or qi. and it has 5 elements. The 5th element, Aether, is called the wood element. Now, one of the things they did that will confuse you is they put earth in the middle and then they had the 4 directions. No, Aether goes in the middle. Earth is one of the 4 directions. I think earth is west. So don't let that confuse you. But Aether is the liver. In Chinese medicine, the liver energy goes in all directions. And in medical astrology, what sign is the liver? Sagittarius. Well, what overlaps Sagittarius from, I forgot the dates, November, late November till around, I think the 13th of December, is Fucus, the new 13th constellation. Also, liver, Aether. Okay. Now, there are aspects of Aether in all the signs, and I'm working on getting all that documented to put in my classes. But it does exist even in Chinese medicine and Chinese astrology, because Chinese astrology has all 5 elements. The spirit in Western mysticism is often described as the breath of God. The Hermetic principle of vibration aligns with the 5th element. This vibration is how you create everything. You have Aether, you put a certain frequency into it, and that's what manifests what we see in this world. Esoteric teachings like the Rosicrucians, Theosophy, the Kabbalah, all reference subtle planes of existence composed of etheric substance. It forms the bridge between 3D matter and 5D light bodies. So if you think there's only 4 elements, you're in 2D, right? Northeast, southwest, it's flat, that's 2D. We'll dive deeper into that next week. So the role of Aether in the 5D shift is to move us into 5D living, higher heart-centered awareness, unity consciousness, and crystalline embodiment. I've talked about crystalline a lot in the last few weeks. The element of Aether is being reactivated on Earth. It's going to provide increased intuitive sensitivity, spontaneous healing, and cellular upgrades. So DNA upgrades, DNA is in the middle of your cell, and we'll have a better understanding of what chemistry actually looks like. Our understanding of chemistry is all wrong. Physics is wrong, chemistry is wrong, everything is wrong. And there's a lot of very enlightened scientists now you can listen to that talk about this. You don't have to take my word for it. You can go out and do your own research. So there's a heightened synchronicity and multidimensional awareness. I have seen through the dimensions. I walk in 2 worlds. I always have since I was a little kid. That's going to start happening to everybody. You're going to be able to see and hear your loved ones who have passed over, including your animals. You're going to be able to see. Now, unfortunately, there's light and dark everywhere in the universe. So you may start to see dark entities as well. So always have your protection. So the Merkaba, star tetrahedron, the rainbow body, which is the Buddhist teaching, the diamond body, which is the Taoist teaching, the light body, which the Christians talk about, is all about transformation. It all relies on Aether activation. Without Aether, we remain tethered to 3D. And if you're still in 2D, you got to get out of 2D into 3D. So remember, think of a cube. It has 4 sides. That's flat. That's 2D. But when you look at the top and the bottom, the up and the down, you now have a cube instead of a square. So you don't have a square, which is 2D. That's the 4 directions. When you add Aether, you add this height, and that's 3rd dimension. So once you go to 3rd dimension, you're ready for 5th dimension or 5D. It's actually not dimension, it's density. So we're in 2D is actually density. The densities are vertical, dimensions are horizontal. So 1st dimension, 2nd dimension. 2nd dimension is flat. 3rd dimension is where we are, where we're animated and moving and 4D, fourth dimension, is where you see time and you prepare yourself for the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension, you become light. You're transparent and you can take on any shape you want. You can be any gender you want, or you can be neutral. You can be, that's why when we see fifth dimensional bodies, we usually see them like wearing these long robes with wings, because they're not wings, it's just the energy flowing out from them. They have streams of light coming out from them, so it kind of looks like that. But our natural shape is a round, colored ball of conscious energy. So once you go above fifth density, all you see, they cannot come back into a humanoid form. So anytime you see a colored ball of conscious light that instantly gives you information, that is a high-level being, or it is a fifth density being who didn't take on a humanoid type shape. And you have a choice at fifth density. This is why so many people, when they use things like ayahuasca, get sick, because they're in 2D. They're not ready for 5D. They're not even in 3D. You need to do the work. A lot of people think, oh, I'll just do drugs because then I can bypass all that. Not really. You've got to do the work. The way you do the work is meditation. You've got to go from 2D, which is a paradigm shift because you can't see what's over here. But I'm telling you, instead of looking at a square, look at a cube. Look at the third dimension. Because once you do that, now you're ready for 4D. Now, when you start to see everything all as one and you see everything in time, now you're ready for 5D. Okay, that's what you need to do. So crystalline light codes are received through the solar and galactic waves. So the center of our galaxy is sending out these waves. It's affecting all of the suns and solar systems, but our sun receives those waves and it's sending out waves. We call them CMEs, coronal mass ejections from the sun. And those ejections, when they come towards Earth, it takes a couple days and they get here, it hammers our Schumann resonance. Okay, and you've seen those pictures where all of a sudden, instead of blue with some green lines, it's white. And we're getting hammered with that. And every time we get hit, I end up having to lay down. I get hit so hard. I think, what the heck happened? I look it up. Oh, Schumann resonance, got hit with a CME. So we're all being hit with it. And you have to go with it. You go with the flow and accept the fact that it's going to affect you. And I consciously ask for DNA upgrades, DNA repair, cellular repair, knowledge, information, whatever they think I'm ready for. I ask that it be downloaded. So reclaim your divine template. That's the new human that we're moving into. Again, a few weeks ago, I had the new human podcast. So what are ways that we can tune back into Aether and live in harmony with it? How do we reawaken Aether? And I have some suggestions for you. You can do all of them or one of them or whatever works for you, whatever resonates. One is meditate on the dodecahedron. Now, if you don't have one like me, I know you can get some crystal. You can do all the platonic solids in crystal forms. I can't pick it up. This is a quartz crystal. So they come in as quartz crystal, but they're tiny. Or you can go on the internet and get a picture and you can just meditate on the picture. And while you do that, do breath work like we did earlier. We breathe in the Aether and we exhale the Aether. In and out while you're meditating. So you're going to be meditating with your eyes open. You can do sound healing. So there's a couple of solfeggio frequencies I suggest for you. One is 528 hertz. It is called the love frequency, and it's associated with things like stress reduction, emotional healing, and DNA repair. So I frequently play this for my patients because, they're there for a healing, and sometimes we need to do DNA repair. DNA repair prevents cancer, by the way. Cancer is a mutated cell. DNA, it's not our real DNA, but our immune system doesn't know to get rid of it. Another frequency that I suggest is 963 hertz. It awakens the spirit. Some people call this the frequency of God. So it's one of the highest solfeggio frequencies that we can hear. You can work with crystals. Now, I have lots of crystals. I love this. Now, this is selenite. Selenite is really good for clearing your chakras, and it rarely needs to be cleaned. Another one is this purple GABA, and purple GABA also rarely needs to be cleaned, and it also balances out your chakras. I've been using purple and green fluorite for decades, and this is black tourmaline. So anything black helps you to ground, but black tourmaline is also protective. So it will protect. I keep this in a pouch that I wear when I have to go out, and I have a fancy necklace. So if I go someplace nice, I wear my fancy necklace, and it has an amethyst on top and a big long black tourmaline hanging. Another one that's really good to use is lapis lazuli. If you buy these stones, make sure they're not dyed or treated. A lot of people irradiate stones or they're dyeing them and they have no energy. But supposedly, if you meditate with a lapis lazuli, you immediately connect to source. So that's a nice one, connecting to source. Of course, you obviously know about quartz crystal. They're always awesome and really easy to clean. This is a black quartz crystal. So with a black quartz crystal, it's going to be more grounding. It still has all the other properties, except that you can't see into it. The quartz crystal that you can see into, like this one here, if you meditate and actually go into the crystal and become one with it, you can read the knowledge. So these little lines that are in there, that's knowledge. It's history, written history, memories. So you can pull the memories out. This is a special guy. This is called a Herkimer diamond. Now you can also use real diamonds, but I don't have a lot of diamonds sitting around the house. But they connect to the matrix on the bottom, and they're naturally double terminated. So this guy here was not double terminated naturally. He was carved this way. Whereas if you look at this black crystal, you can see where it was attached to the matrix. So it grows out of the matrix with 1 point, whereas the Herkimer diamond grows out of the matrix with 2 points. And that's another one that's great to have around and meditate with. But like all quartz, you do need to clean them on a regular basis. So another way you can bring in more aether is organic whole foods and humanely raised animals. There's nothing wrong with eating animals or eggs. I know some of you think, oh, you can't have a light body if you're eating animal protein. You have to be a vegetarian. That's not true. Now, there's a lot of vegetarians who eat eggs and occasionally fish or chicken. They're probably pretty healthy. And if you're an A blood type, that's a good diet. If you're a vegan, I've never met a healthy vegan. When I became vegan, after 3 years, I got so darn sick, it was unbelievable. So especially if you're an O blood type, you will not survive as being a vegan. I've tried it 3 times, and every time the doctor said, you need beef. It's in my astrology chart. So if you're not sure what's the best diet for you, and you don't want to use your blood type, maybe you don't know it, for a couple bucks, you can get a home kit that'll tell you your blood type. But you can have a medical astrology chart done, and it'll tell you what you need to eat. It'll tell you the kind of exercise you need. You can also have a DNA report done. So there's a number of places that will check your DNA. They'll tell you what you need to eat and what kind of exercise. For instance, some people need to do a lot of walking and just do simple exercises, where other people really need to hit it hard. It's isotonic versus isometric. So you should know which kind of exercise is best for you. And then finally, I would suggest spending time in high energy vortices. Now, there's vortices everywhere, so you don't have to go to Sedona. I personally don't really like Sedona. I like West Sedona, but the commercial side of Sedona, they do a lot of dark rituals there. So I actually don't like that part of Sedona. The energy is too dark. But you can find a vortice around you. You can use, where's my pendulum? You can use a pendulum. You can use dowsing rods, and just douse where's the best place for you. And you might be surprised how many places there are near you, especially if you have a river or a forest or some trees. There'll be a vortex near there. Or if it's safe where you live, you can go out at night and look at the stars. I moved to Cottonwood, and I wanted to see the stars. It's a dark city. When I moved here, oh wow, look at those stars. I mean, my neighbors were laughing at me because I was out there. Oh, look at all the stars. Now we've had so many people move in here from California who leave their lights on at night. Can't see the stars anymore. So I'm going to move again. If you can't see the stars, there's no point living here. So Aether and the return of the 13th moon cycle is also coming. We used to have a calendar with 13 months. It started on a new moon, it ended on a full moon. We lost that. And if you go on the internet and you do a search, you can find calendars that are based on the 13-month cycle. And then you can just use it to figure out what the date is on the Gregorian channel so that you can follow the moon cycles. If you have any water in your chart, especially if you're a Cancer moon, Cancer ascendant, rising or sun, ascendant and rising is the same, sorry. Or you have a lot of placements in Cancer, the same with Scorpio, it's an ascendant or rising, your moon. Cancer controls the moon, or the moon is at home in Cancer. I have I'm a Cancer rising. I have a stellium in Scorpio. And then if you're a Pisces, that's the other water sign. So if you have an ascendant, a sun, a moon, you're going to be affected by what the moon does and whatever is happening in the water sign. And we've had a lot of planets in Pisces lately. So knowing those moon cycles is very, very important. And this created distortions in our timekeeping systems. We moved from natural lunar calendars to the artificial 12-month Gregorian calendar. And many believe that the 13-month, 28-day cycle is lined with Aether and the natural pulse of the cosmos, because we are affected by the energies that come to us through the Aether. It comes to us through the center of the galaxy, through us to us from our sun and other stars, as well as from the other planets, especially the inner planets affect us on a regular basis, especially things like Mercury. Every time it goes retrograde, everybody talks about it because it's the fastest going around the sun. When you get to the outer planets, it's more generational effects, although Jupiter affects us for a year. So it's the biggest of the big planets. And it's the closest to us of the big planets and the outer planets. But it only takes a year. All the others take a lot longer. So to wrap this up, Aether is not just a concept. It is a frequency, a remembrance, and a bridge back to our divine nature. So as you journey forward this week, notice the space between things, the space between your breath, between your words, between the silence, between sounds. because that's where ether lives. That is where your soul speaks. Now, when you meditate, a lot of people say you have to clear your mind. You can't clear your mind. You will never stop having thoughts until you die. Then you stop having thoughts. But as you learn to be focused, and of course, if you're on a phone all day long, you're never going to be focused because you're jumping from one thing to another. I don't even have, I don't even have Facebook on my phone, okay? I don't have TikTok. I don't have, what are those other ones? I don't, starts with an I. I don't remember the name of them because I don't use them, okay? I am on LinkedIn. Twitter is one I'm not on Twitter. I can't remember. You know them better than I do. I don't use any of those things. So when you are able to focus, and I know you've been on apps where you can swipe, like when I read my email, I go through and I swipe and just delete all the stuff I know I'm not going to read, and then I read my emails. So you swipe. So when you have a thought, swipe it. You don't need the thought, just swipe it. And be focused on the space in between. Swipe, swipe. Just get rid of it. Not important. You can get those thoughts later. Your focus is on the space between the thoughts. What's coming through? It's coming through from your soul, from your helpers, from the sun. It's really cool to talk to the sun, especially you can travel to the center of the sun and do a meditation. It's really powerful. I learned that in the early 90s as part of my HUNA training. So that's probably enough for one night, isn't it? So thank you for joining me in this episode of the Holistic Transformation Podcast. So if you enjoyed it, I would really, really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe and share this or leave a comment. I've got all kinds of links down below for the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy, which will tell you how to get to my web version of the app and my smartphone version of the app. And it'll show you there's a courses tab, and I have a new course coming up. So the podcast next week will be a deeper dive in 2 dimensions, 2 densities versus 3 densities. And it'll be like a mini class, and it's a precursor to a class I'm going to be offering starting in August that you can sign up for now. So all of that is out there on dancingbearenlightenmentacademy.com. Links are below. There's a link for a free gift. There's a link to the diamondsourcelight.com. Is where it has a Qigong exercise for clearing your energy and clearing blockages. And you just bring in the diamond source light energy or crystalline light energy, same thing. Okay, so thank you for joining us. And remember to be the light you want to see in the world.